Welcome to the Ask Jordan podcast, answering your questions about selling on Amazon. Now, he's flipped more toys than a stadium full of toddlers. From Long Island, New York, here's your host, Jordan Malik.
Hello, Amazon sellers. My name is Jordan Malik. I'm your host of the Ask Jordan podcast. 102nd episode today. Thank you so much for making me part of your day. 102 episodes. Appreciate the fact that you listen. Now, this is the podcast where we only answer your questions about selling on Amazon. Every episode, we answer a different question from you, the listener, about selling on Amazon. If you missed an episode, hey, that's all right. Head over to askjordan.net, askjordan.net. And there's our most recent episodes there, or there's a link to our archives on that same page. It's in blue font. Blue font link. It says archived episodes. Or you can see all the episodes on iTunes, the Ask Jordan podcast on iTunes, or on Stitcher if you're a Stitcher user, if you're a podbay.fm user. Our Ask Jordan podcasts are on there, and our podcasts are on YouTube as well. Do a search for Ask Jordan podcast on YouTube to see all of our episodes there. Hey, how about some housekeeping before we continue? Right now, when you're listening to this, it's going to be early October 2015. And you are going to be inundated with a lot of promotions from email to Facebook to your friends to your fellow Amazon sellers, ranting and raving about a $5,000 plus program. Can't give you the name of the program. I received a cease and desist from their lawyers a while back because that's how I roll. I say it like it is, and they didn't like that. So the name of the program rhymes with A hazing, yelling, obscene. You see how I did that? A hazing, yelling, obscene. It's one of those fancy, quote unquote, machine courses that is $5,000 or up. If you pay in installments, I think it's actually somewhere around $6,000, where they will be heavily teasing you with a very alluring training program that's going to cost you a lot of money. My suggestion is there's a lot of information and other courses out there that are equally good, or actually many of them quite better, without all that hype. Without all that expensive, glistening, shiny object hype that this course has. So head over to my latest ebook. Go over to jordanmalik.com/ASM. It's free. And this reviews all the major Amazon seller courses, including private label. So that's what this big $5,000 course is pushing all the time, is private label products. Nothing wrong with that, but there's plenty of ways to learn about private label for a fraction of that price and then save all your money for the inventory you can buy. So jordanmalik.com/ASM, A as in Apple, S as in super, M as in motor. You can get my free ebook there. And the latest version is for 2016, which is coming up. So it's the 2016 edition of the best Amazon seller courses, the best proven Amazon seller courses, including the topic of private label. Whole new section there on the best private label training for Amazon sellers. One more housekeeping tip. Some of you are calling in questions that have already been answered. So make sure you're viewing all the previous episodes. There's 102 episodes now. So like I said at AskJordan.net, the most recent episodes are there. Or click the link to our archives, see our archived episodes, or just do a search on YouTube, Ask Jordan bundling, Ask Jordan podcast, barcodes. There might be a previous episode before you call in with your question, and I'll give you instructions how to call in later. Your question may already be answered. And if you think that I've blown you off, I don't want you to get that impression. Maybe you submitted a question and I skipped over it by accident, or I never got around to it, or it got buried somewhere in the paperwork. Hey, that happens. Send me an email if you think I've blown you off with your question. I apologize. My email is jordanmalik@gmail.com, or just go to askjordan.net, click on the little envelope icon near the upper right-hand corner of the page. Send me an email so I can answer your question that way. And if it takes you a little while, right now it's October. I got a lot on my plate leading up to the holidays, helping a lot of other sellers. So if it takes me a few days to get back, I'm sure you understand. So if you want to hear your voice on an episode and get 7 of my best-selling ebooks 100% free, I'm going to tell you how to do that after we answer today's question. And today's question is from Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Jordan. This is Joe in Houston, Texas. First, I'd like to say thank you for the podcast. It's helped me get my feet wet into the Amazon FBA world. I have a quick question about getting qualified for certain categories. You've mentioned before on your podcast that we need to get qualified as soon as possible on certain categories that require, approval. We never mentioned how we go about doing that. Is there a process that's lined out by Amazon, or is there something you can tell us how to get started and getting that approval process going? Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Joe, thank you for asking that. Okay, so category approval. Virtually all sellers who sign up to sell on Amazon for the first time are already immediately approved to sell in a bunch of still lucrative categories, right? So as a new seller, you're already approved to sell in toys. There's some restrictions that are around Christmas time if you're a relatively new seller, and Amazon will email you to say if you're approved or not to sell in toys. Most sellers are, particularly if they've been selling on the Amazon platform for, more than a few months, and if their seller metrics are good. So you're pre-approved already to sell in toys in most cases. You're already approved to sell books, used books, new books, CDs, used and new, baby products, tools, household, patio, and electronics. And there's probably another handful. Those are the major categories. So there's categories that you're not approved by default, particularly if you're a newer seller. You've signed up in the past 2 or 3 years to sell on Amazon. Beauty, health and beauty, groceries, clothing, shoes, jewelry, automotive, and some others. So if I was going to tell you in this podcast, well, here's what you do, step 1, step 2, step 3, it'd be irrelevant because every category has slightly different requirements. The requirements for you to sell in beauty are markedly different from what you have to do when you're selling in clothes. So it would just be impossible for me. And even if it was universal, I'd just be telling you stuff that it would get monotonous and boring, So I'm going to, in the show notes for this on the podcast, when you go back to AskJordan.net or YouTube or iTunes, wherever you saw, I'm going to include links in there for all the information that you need to figure out which categories you're approved or not approved in. B, resources for you if you want to do it yourself. There's plenty of free and paid resources if you want to go about doing it yourself. C, I'm also going to leave you a link to my recommended service, a business partner of mine. You go to jordanmalik.com/ungate. jordanmalik.com/ungate. Ungate is all lowercase, UNGATE. That's a service run by Nathan McAllister, and he runs a service where he will take care of it for you. He'll do he's basically just giving you exactly what you need to submit for each category. And he covers a lot of the major categories, provides a service for a lot of major categories. There's some that he doesn't, like grocery. I hear Amazon folks are constantly changing the requirements, and it's hit or miss with people that are applying to sell in the grocery category. Let me back up a little bit and say why Amazon is doing this. So the restrictions that Amazon has imposed in the past, and still they have those restrictions, but they seem like they're loosening up a little bit. The reason they imposed restrictions on, say, grocery or health and beauty or clothing is there was a lot of fraudulent sellers cropping out of it nowhere and throwing their stuff on Amazon. Amazon is very conscious of making sure that they're always selling legitimate products with legitimate expiration dates. In the case of perishables like groceries, non-fraudulent, they don't want to be selling any knockoffs. Because Amazon is so well revered by the consumer, but they're also, they can get a lot of trouble if they're allowing companies as third-party sellers like you or me to sell fraudulent merchandise, like counterfeit health and beauty stuff that's manufactured in China with harmful chemicals, etc. So by imposing these restrictions, they make sellers go through a few exercises in terms of providing receipts or photographs, sample photographs of images or links to their website or etc. in some categories to ensure that the seller is actually legitimate. And that helps. It's not a bulletproof method because I'm sure there are illegitimate sellers that are up to no good, that want to be doing fraudulent things, that provide that documentation in a fraudulent fashion. But this procedure that Amazon has provided has probably, and I'm guessing here, is no doubt dramatically reduced the amount of fraudulent sellers who are selling on the Amazon platform. That's why they did it. So I don't blame them for putting those restrictions in versus eBay, minus the fashion and the handbag category. Probably a lot easier for somebody to go on there and sell a fraudulent product and get away with it for a few transactions before they're caught. Where Amazon's procedure in having third-party sellers go through the application process, they're able to nip that in the bud. But there's a bunch of companies like the Ungating service I mentioned, jordanmalik.com/ungate. You get 10% off by using the code MALIK10, all caps at checkout, MALIK10, Malik10. You get 10% off, and you don't even pay until you're approved. That's the great thing about the service. that service, these outsourced services, do the procedure for you. You pay their fee, or in this case, you don't pay until after you're approved. And this legitimate third-party provider, Nate McAllister at Ungated Categories, he will send you the exact documentation that you need to provide, that he's recommending you provide to Amazon in the process. So it's a terrific service. I've used it myself to get approved. If you don't want to go that route, if you want to do it yourself, you can do that, but it gets very cumbersome in some categories. I remember clothing. When I tried to apply for the clothing category, it required a lot of images, product images, invoices, etc. It can be very cumbersome. So this is kind of a loophole way of getting approved in the category. So one thing I do want to say, Joe, is that you don't have to be approved to have a screaming successful business selling on Amazon. You don't have to be approved in those categories. You don't have to be approved in shoes, clothing, automotive, jewelry, etc. There is plenty of opportunity in the categories that you're automatically approved in by default: books, CDs, toys, baby category, tools, home, garden, kitchen, etc., patio. There's plenty of opportunity there. So the people that are like, oh, gee, I want to get approved too, and you don't want to spend the money or you don't want to go through the procedure of the application process, do not fret, because there's plenty of opportunity. The bulk of my sales today are in the same categories that everybody's approved in by default, right? Toys, books, CDs, household, really, are my probably 4 major categories that no one needs to receive approval for. So, Joe, I hope that answers your question. I appreciate that you called in. Joe gets all 7 of my ebooks about selling on Amazon and eBay. Joe, just go to askjordan.net, find the small envelope icon near the upper right-hand corner of the page. Send me an email so I know where to send your ebooks to. And if you, the listener, if you want to submit a question to the podcast and have a chance to win all of my best-selling ebooks just like Joe, call 516-619-ONLINE. That's 516-619-6654. Or go to askjordan.net, askjordan.net, and scroll down, look at the directions on submitting your question. Hey, thanks again for listening. This has been the Ask Jordan podcast. We'll see you again in our next episode.